Happy Wednesday, church. You might hear Aidan in the background. You see his little feet behind me. We're in the nursery today because he's with me all summer, and so sometimes we go over here and take a break, and he's learning how to roll over right now, so he's just in the background hanging out. You'll also see right behind my head is the Noah's Ark, and it's a good reminder that God keeps God's promises. And that was one of our themes for the week of VBS. And I'm still thinking about VBS because VBS is just a wonderful time for our kids that are here at church, but also for kids in the community that maybe this was the first time that they had ever heard about God's story. We take it for granted sometimes now that kids will know who Jesus is, but the way that we learn about who Jesus is by other people telling us. You know, we learn from Scripture the nature of God. We learn from Scripture who Jesus is. But to learn and to pass that from one person to another, there has to be some kind of explanation. There has to be the story that's taught. And so you think about prevenient grace. Prevenient grace is working in our lives before we know that God is present in our lives. But there are people who come into our lives who share about Jesus. And when they share about Jesus, then those kids who have never heard of Jesus before, now they know, and they can decide, is Jesus someone that I want to get to know better? And, you know, I praise Sarah Baldwin on Sunday. I will continue to praise her because that was the goal. That was the focus. That was the hope, is that every kid who came into VBS would know who Jesus was. And she asked on Friday, does everyone know who Jesus was? And every single hand raised into the air, because they spent a whole week and they got to hear about all of the wonderful ways that God shows up and how God's story from beginning until Jesus's works and resurrection exists as a story and an arc of love. And that story continues today, and that we get to be a part of that story. And so even if the kids had never once heard of Jesus before, now they have, and they are singing the songs, they are going into their homes, and they are telling other people about Jesus. And that's just exciting to me. I hope that is exciting for you. And it is a really wonderful reminder of the ways in which we can share Jesus just in our everyday lives. That's a part of our call as Christians, is to go out and make disciples of Christ, but it's also to share the good news of Jesus Christ. So let that be a reminder that when we are talking with someone, they may not know the story. They may not know Jesus. And the way that we can show up is to just present ourselves as the wonderful Christ followers that we are, but it's also to share why we do what we do. And it's because of the love of Christ that I do what I do. And so just, it's a wonderful reminder. VBS is not the only time where we hear and tell these stories to our kids, but it is a really good focal point for us to share that story again and again. So as we go into the year, we will continue to teach our kiddos, and we will continue to learn more about Jesus from their perspective too. But I encourage you to, if you didn't get a chance to do VBS this year, or if you were thinking about it but just were a little nervous to be a volunteer, I encourage you to use this year to pray and think about whether or not next year you would like to be involved with that too, because it was such a wonderful time. And I look forward to it every year.